All right now, so without any further ado, let's bring to the stage my friend, my senator, the 46th president of these United States of America, Elizabeth Warren!
Hello, Concord! Are these the most incredible 3 co-chairs that anyone could come up with in a presidential race? I cannot tell you how proud I am and how excited I am that Ayanna and Deb and Katie are the heart and soul of this campaign. They are the future of America's leadership. Thank you for all you do. Fabulous. So I'm so glad you're here. It is good to be here in Concord again. Good to see everybody. Boy, you sound like a crowd that's ready for a little structural change. It's good to be back. You know, you're back enough. It feels like family. In fact, I brought family with me. I've got my son, Alex. Stand up, Alex. Daughter-in-law, Lise. Stand up. And you can't see him, but down there is Bailey, the good boy. So because we're right here in the final days before the election on Tuesday, everybody knows there's an election on Tuesday? Good. They're trying to get me to as many places as possible. So I'm going to be able to talk a little, take some questions, but I'm not going to be able to stay for the selfie line. However, you get an upgrade. And that is that Ayanna and Katie and Deb have agreed to stay, and Bailey. So you get the full range for a selfie line. Collect the whole set. I am so glad that all of you are here today. I look out, I see old friends, new friends, exactly the way to do this. I want to tell you a little bit about myself for anybody who doesn't know me. I was born and raised in Oklahoma. I have 3 much older brothers. I am what used to be referred to as a late in life baby. My mother always just called me the surprise. My 3 older brothers are all retired now. They're all back in Oklahoma. And to this day, they are still collectively referred to as the boys. That's to distinguish them from the surprise. So when the boys and I were growing up, our daddy had a lot of different jobs. He sold paint, he sold carpet, he sold fencing, he sold housewares. He ended up as a janitor. Our mom worked a minimum wage job at Sears. All 3 of my brothers went off and joined the military. It was their chance to serve, and it was also, frankly, their ticket to America's middle class. Now me, I have wanted to be the same thing ever since 2nd grade. I decided in 2nd grade. I knew what I wanted to be. You know, you smile, you didn't decide till what, like 4th grade? 5th grade and the way back over there. Now, I have known what I wanted to be since 2nd grade, never wavered from it. I wanted to be a public school teacher. Can we hear it for America's public school teachers? And I want you to know I invested early. I used to line my dollies up and teach school. I had a reputation for being tough but fair. It's all I wanted. I talked about it always as a kid. But by the time I graduated from high school, my family didn't have the money for a college application, much less to send me off to 4 years at university. So like a lot of Americans, I do not have a straight path story. I got a story that's got a lot of twists and turns. So here's the short version of how my story goes. I was a high school debater and I got a scholarship to college. Woohoo! Go nerds! Oh, I was on my way, and then at 19, I fell in love, got married, and dropped out. Woohoo! Now look, it's what I chose, be a good life, but I thought what had happened is I had given up the dream to teach. I thought, okay, that's it, I'll never be able to do this. And we're living outside Houston, and that's when I found it. A commuter college, 45 minutes away, that cost $50 a semester. And for a price I could pay for on a part-time waitressing job, I finished my 4-year diploma and I became a special education teacher. I have lived my dream job. So, do we have any public school teachers in here? Whoa, right here. Got some back there. Oh, we got them around here. Where else? Any more? Oh, yes. All right, I'm gonna need you to back me up on this. It is not a job, it is a calling. I love this work. I had 4 to 6-year-olds in special education, and I loved my babies. And probably would still be doing that work today, but like I said, my story has some twists and turns. And here's how it goes. By the end of the first year in teaching, I was visibly pregnant. And the principal did what principals did in those days. He wished me luck and hired someone else for the job. So we're living outside. At this point, we're living in New Jersey, and I'm at home. I got a baby. I can't get a job. I gotta do something. So I know I will go to law school. Yeah, law nerds over there, I can tell, you bet. So I decided I'm gonna go to law school. Found a state law school that cost $450 a semester. And baby on hip, did 3 years of law school, graduated visibly pregnant. You're discovering a pattern to these stories. Took the bar, passed the bar, practiced law for 45 minutes. And then I went back to my first love, teaching. I traded little ones for big ones, and I spent pretty much my whole grown-up life teaching in law school. Other big changes in my life around this time, husband number 1, hint, never good when you have to number your husbands. Husband number 1 and I separated ways, but I found Bruce and I've held on to him ever since, so it worked. So here I am, teaching in law school, and I don't know, maybe it's because of how I grew up, but I always went to the money courses. So I taught contract law and commercial law, secure transactions, payment systems, corporate finance, partnership finance, law of debtors and creditors, bankruptcy law and economics. If it was about money, I'm in. But my work was always about one central question, and that is what's happening to working families in America? Why is America's middle class being hollowed out? Why is it that people who work every bit as hard as my parents worked 2 generations ago today find the path so much rockier and so much steeper? And for people of color, even rockier and even steeper. Why? And the answer has to do with our government in Washington. It has to do with whose side that government is now on. Think of it this way. We have a government that works great for giant drug companies. It just doesn't work for people trying to get a prescription filled. We have a government that works great for people who want to make a little money, investing in private detention centers at our border or private prisons. just not for the human beings whose lives are destroyed by those places. We have a government that works great for giant oil companies that want to drill everywhere, just not for the rest of us who see climate change bearing down upon us. And when you see a government that works great for those with money, works great for those who can hire armies of lobbyists and lawyers, works great for those who make big campaign contributions, and isn't working for much of anyone else, that is corruption, pure and simple, and we need to call it out for what it is. Corruption. Corruption. And it is money, money, money in Washington. Campaign contributions, lobbyists, PR firms, bought and paid for experts, tilted think tanks. It is about money that flows through Congress, that flows through the administration, that flows through our regulatory agencies. Money, money, money. And here's the thing. Whatever is the issue that really gets you up in the morning, the one that you are most deeply concerned about, the price of prescription drugs, or gun violence in this country, or climate change, whatever is the issue that gets you up, I guarantee you this. If there is a decision to be made in Washington, it has been influenced by money. It has been shaped by money. It has had a little exception created by money, money, money. And if we are going to fix this, if we are going to have a government that isn't just responsive to the money interests, if we're going to have a government that doesn't just work for a thinner and thinner slice at the top, but a government that's going to work for everyone else, it's going to take big structural change. Are you ready for that? And I got a plan for that. So let me just tell you, there's so much we can do if we can just disrupt the influence of money. My anti-corruption plan, here's the good news. It is the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. Here's the bad news. We need the biggest anti-corruption plan since Watergate. All right, let me just give you a little taste of what's in this one, just a quick taste, because it's got a lot of pieces to it. But part one, end lobbying as we know it. Block the revolving door between Wall Street and Washington. Here's one you may never have thought about, but it's important. Make the United States Supreme Court follow basic rules of ethics. Okay, I could do these all day. Let me do just one more. You really want to hose out some corruption in Washington? Make every single person who runs for federal office put their tax returns online. Why start with corruption? I'll tell you why. Because if we can disrupt the influence of money, if we can just knock it back, we don't have to eliminate it 100%, just knock it back, get off our back foot and get on our front foot, then we can build a very different America. We can build an America of opportunity, not just for those born into privilege. We can build an America of opportunity for every single human being in this country. That's why I'm in this fight. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Let's do some questions. Hi.
Hi, I'm Dawn from Bedford.
Donna?
Dawn
Dawn?
from Bedford.
It's good. Oh, Dawn from Bedford. It's good to see you.
Hi. I'd like to know what you're looking for in your running mate.
Oh, I think you gave up the game there. So Donna wants to know what I'm looking for in a running mate. And the answer is, I don't think of this in political terms. I know that's how most people do it. Oh, somebody from the North has to pick somebody from the South, right? I think of this as a partner. I want someone who is going to be in this fight along with me. I want someone whose heart is committed to the fight. I want someone who can pick up part of this fight and get out and help us get more done for the people who have elected us. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. It's a great question, Todd. Hi.
Hi. My name is Mohammed Flitty.
Marvin?
Mohammed.
Oh, Mohammed, sorry.
Hi. I have a question. So I know you endorsed Monday Jones from New York 17, and I live in New York 16th District, where we are represented by Eliot Engel. And taking into account Eliot Engel's hawkish foreign policy, would you consider endorsing against him, a progressive candidate against him?
So I don't know who's running against him, but I'll sure take a look. Okay? Thanks. Hi.
Hi, I'm an educator from Massachusetts.
Yay!
And I would like to know about your education plan.
Oh,
Why
I'm ready. Yes, because this is about building a future. Do anything specific, or can I just run from there?
I want to know why you have the best education plan. Can you
Oh,
explain
and
that
I'm
to
ready.
us?
I'm ready. Okay. So here's where it starts. You know me. I like to make sure we're going to make this real. This is not about hand waving. Every candidate stands, oh, I'm totally for education. Oh, and I'll do lots of stuff for education. Education will have lots of smiley faces from me, right? No, I want this to be real. And that's why I start with, it is time for a wealth tax in America. Let's start by raising a little money, because that's what we need. Education is not free. And here's the idea behind this wealth tax. This is a tax on fortunes above $50 million. So the idea here is your first $50 million is free and clear. Guy in the back says, phew. This woman is not unreasonable. First $50 million is free and clear, but your 50 millionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And 2 cents on every dollar after that. You hit $1 billion, you got to pitch in a penny or 2 more, right? That's the basic idea. And just so everybody understands it, anybody in here own a home or grow up in a house where they own the home? Yeah, you know you've all been paying a wealth tax forever. It's just called a property tax. And all I'm saying is that for this top 1/10 of 1%, the fortunes over 50 million, their property tax should include the real estate, but also the stock portfolio, the diamonds, the Rembrandt, and the yacht. That's the basic idea. That's the basic idea. And now here's, you may have noticed about this wealth tax that some billionaires don't like it. Some have gone on TV and cried. It was so sad. Some have run for president. Figured it was cheaper than having to pay 2 cents, right? Okay. But that's right. Here's the argument. Here's the argument they make. They say, look, you're punishing success. I got out there, I worked hard, I had a great idea, I followed through, I stayed up late at night, and I built this great fortune, this $1 billion fortune now. And my answer to that is, good for you. Good for you. You built a great fortune. Good for you. But here's the deal. You built that great fortune right here in America. I guarantee you used workers that all of us help pay to educate. You got your goods to market on roads and bridges all of us help pay to build. You are protected by police and firefighters all of us help pay the salaries for. In other words, nobody got rich on their own. Now, we're glad to make these investments. We're Americans. We're happy to make them because they help create opportunity. All we're saying is when you make it big, I mean really big, I mean top 1/10 of 1% big, pitch in 2 cents so everybody else gets a chance to make it. Hold on, I'm not through. Because now comes the most fun part. What could we do with just spending it? Yes, you have exactly the right idea. What can we do with just 2 cents? And here's the answer. For 2 cents on the top 1/10 of 1%, and just so everybody knows, last year, the 99% paid 7.2% of your total wealth in taxes, okay? That top 1/10 of 1% paid 3.2%. Okay, yeah. So they pitch in just 2 cents. Here's what we can do. Universal child care and early education for every child in this country. 100% of it. Universal pre-K for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in America. Stop exploiting the people who do this work. Largely black and brown women raise the wages of every child care worker and preschool teacher in America. 2 cents. 2 cents. We can do all of that for our littlest ones with 2 cents. Plus, we can put an historic $800 billion investment into our public schools K through 12. Quadruple the funding for Title I schools so all our kids get a great education. And one that will be no surprise coming from a special education teacher, for the first time in history, fully fund IDEA so every child with a disability gets the education they need. 2 cents. 2 cents. Plus, I'm not through yet. Okay, a set of steak knives. No, 2 cents. We can do all that for our babies. We can do all that for K-12. Plus, we can provide universal tuition-free technical school, 2-year college, 4-year college for anybody who wants an education. We can help level the playing field and put $50 billion directly into our historically black colleges and universities. 2 cents, same 2 cents. We can do all of that, and one more thing. We can cancel student loan debt for 43 million Americans. Yes. This is about money, you bet it is. It's about economics, you bet it is. But it is also about our values. As a country, we decide. Our tax policy, we decide how we're going to spend it. And this is the question in front of us in 2020. Better to leave that 2 cents with the billionaires or invest in an entire generation of young Americans. I'm with the young Americans here. Thank you. Thank you for your work. We're going to do this. 2 cents. I love it. Let's do this. I'm ready for this. Oh, we're going to have fun. Hi. Yeah, someone over here wants to go to 3 cents. Let's just start. Let's just start with 2 cents, okay? Hi.
Hi, my name is Kara from Westboro.
Hi, Kara. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. I have a tough question.
Okay.
It's about contract labor. I think it's overused in America.
Yep.
And a couple of my thoughts are that it seems to me that contract workers have had the burden of changes in the marketplace, you know, the ebb and flow of sales and profit placed on their shoulders. So that corporations, you know, just push that burden of labor expense onto workers. And I want to know, what can we do to strengthen the position of workers in America today?
Okay, good. Good question, Carol. So let me, if I can, I just want to expand this question out a little bit. What she's basically talking about is how corporations have found ways to re-describe the work you do so that you're no longer an employee and not entitled to the protection that employees get. Instead, you just have a contract. And they use you when they need you. They don't have to provide benefits. They don't worry about overtime, right? All the pieces about that. The problem there is not just about that part of what's happened to workers. The problem is a lot bigger. We now have an America that works great for those at the top, including corporations, we need to stop and acknowledge in America. Trickle-down economics has been a monumental failure and has undercut working people throughout this country. And what that means in this case is it's been twofold. Here's what trickle-down economics has been about since the 1980s. I'll just summarize it by saying it's about helping the rich and powerful get richer and more powerful. But what it really means is cut taxes for those at the top. That's why I talk about the 2-cent wealth tax. The other half of it is cut regulations, right? So when I talk about the corruption, how have these big corporations been undermining American workers, undermining the American economy, taking more for themselves? Because they've gotten the regulations, they've gotten the tax loopholes, and they've gotten the regulations changed. So here's what we got to do. Right now in America, we have corporations that say, basically, this is what the corporations say: our sole obligation is only to the bottom line, to profit, which means they have no loyalty to this country, they have no loyalty to their workers, they have no loyalty to anyone except increasing profits. So if they can ship a job to Mexico and that'll save them 15 cents, do it in a heartbeat, right? If they can get a contract labor and substitute contract laborers for regular employees, they'll do it in a heartbeat. This is one of the structural changes we got to turn around. So let me give you just 2 or 3 ideas around how we're going to turn this around. I've got a plan for something called accountable capitalism. And the idea behind it is to say that all corporations above $100 million in annual revenues actually have to have 40% of their board elected by employees. They got to change their corporate charter. So they're not just running for profits, they're running for the workers, for their customers, for their communities, like they did for centuries before they changed in the 1980s. Couple of more pieces to this. We have a problem with giant corporations that have swallowed up smaller companies, they've swallowed up medium-sized companies, they've swallowed up giant companies. They now have so much power. It's not just the economics, it's the power. Power over their employees, power over their customers, power over their communities, power in Washington. It is time for a president who has the courage to stand up and enforce our antitrust laws. I'm ready. And yes, big tech, I'm looking at you. One more. You want to make structural change in an economy, you got to have power, not just in the hands of the government and the corporations. We need more power in the hands of workers. Make it easier to join a union and give unions more power when they negotiate. So, big structural change in the economy, a Department of Labor that's actually on the side of workers. That's how we're going to make real change here. Thank you. Thank you. Woohoo! We got some more?
I'm back.
All right.
All right, so I guess we have enough time for 3 more questions. So if you have that little red ticket, pull it out, and I will read the last 4 numbers just like last time. I'm going to need you to yell persist so I can find you in the audience. Ready?
This is the fun part.
Okay, the next person is 7228.
Yay! Come on
So
over.
we just want you to make your way right over here. See the sign waving. Very good. Okay, ready? The next one is 7290.
729. Woo! All right.
Does he really? Does he really? That's my son.
Oh, no.
Is it Nana's ticket? You really have it? All right, that's my mother in the front row. She's also a special education teacher.
Yay. And they're looking for the ticket.
They're looking.
So I was at a town hall a couple of months ago, called out a number, there's a total pause, nobody seems to have the number, and finally this woman said, I think I have that ticket, but I put my used gum in it. So, whatever condition it's in, we'll still take it. Okay, go ahead.
We're gonna do one more, ready?
Okay.
All right, the next one is 7230.
We got one? All right,
Yay.
woohoo! Okay,
All right,
come on
so
over.
you'll make your way right over here around to this corner. See the sign waving right here?
See the lady over here? Okay. We got him?
He found the ticket.
He found his ticket. All right, good. Oh, that's terrific. All right. Okay, we ready? Come on over. Come on around. All right. Who's up?
Hi, Senator Warren.
Hi.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Hello. As many of us know, you have extensive policy proposals on just about everything.
Uh-huh.
We've heard a lot of...
I think that's actually a good thing.
I agree. We've heard a lot about your wealth tax and the anti-corruption plan.
Uh-huh.
But my question for you is, what is your most underheard plan?
I think it's probably the disability plan. It's a fairly recent plan as a separate plan, but I want to talk to you for just a minute about it. You know, you think in terms of big areas. Employment, I've got a lot of plans around that. Housing, got a lot of plans around that. Education. And then you try to think about groups and how groups are affected disproportionately. So around education, African Americans are more likely to borrow more money to go to college, borrow more money while they're in college, have a harder time paying it off when they get out of college. So I have a general plan for dealing with student loan debt, but a big part of it was to look through it and say, how can we close the black-white wealth gap in America? And part of that is to get it right on student loan debt. So you keep slicing as you look at the pieces to see how different people are affected. And I noticed on a lot of our plans, like housing, we need more housing in America. We have a housing crisis in this country. And it's for two reasons. One is private developers are no longer building middle-class housing or working-class housing or housing for the poor. The two-bedroom house, two-bedroom, one-bath, garage converted to hold my three brothers, that house isn't being built in America anymore. The developers have gone to the high end, the McMansions. I'm not mad at them, that's where the profits are. At the same time, the government has stopped investing in public housing. And so right now it is federal law, I don't know if you all knew this, that for every new public housing, affordable housing unit that the federal government brings online, it has to take a housing unit offline. Makes no sense at all. So we have a growing population, and that means across New Hampshire, across America, people are paying more for less housing, and it's putting a squeeze on everybody. So when I started thinking this through, I was thinking about we need housing for middle-class families, for working-class families, for the working poor, for the poor. We need housing for people who are formerly incarcerated and trying to make it back. We need housing for seniors who want to age in place, and we need housing for people with disabilities. Absolutely. So I was doing this as we went along, and it hit me, we need to work out a whole disability plan. And how's the best way to do that? Ask people who are in the disability community. And they wrote the plan. So I ask you, if you have a chance, go to elizabethwarren.com, just punch in disability, take a look at the plan. Take a look at what people who use wheelchairs, people who have developmental issues, people who are struggling, what they see as what they need to live in an America where equal truly means equal. So that's one of my faves. Thank you. I love what we can do together. Yes.
Hi, Senator Warren.
Hi.
Thanks for coming. I'm Sherry. I'm from Bedford.
Hi, Sherry. It's good to see you.
I have got so many questions. I would love to ask you about the Supreme Court, about a whole bunch of things, but I'm going to focus on health care.
Sure.
I have an older son who has moved to Canada with his wife and my 2 grandchildren, primarily because they have nationalized health care.
Yeah.
And I also have a younger son who has type 1 diabetes, and our health care bills are outrageous.
Yep.
I do know I've got a fabulous health care plan. It's wonderful in the sense that things are covered, but I still am paying a tremendous amount out of pocket, plus the premiums that we pay are absolutely incredible.
And going up every
And going
year.
up and up and up. And I'm wondering if you can help address,
Sure.
because I'm complete, oh, go Bailey. I'm completely for the idea of nationalized health insurance for Medicare for all, and I'd like to address too the issues of how it makes people able to have more portability with their
Good.
jobs.
Okay.
So thank you.
So let's talk just a minute about health care, and let's start with the statement of our values. Health care is a basic human right, and we fight for basic human rights. That's where we got to start. Last year in America, 36 million Americans got a prescription that they couldn't afford to have filled. And I want you to think for just a second about what that means. They were sick enough or scared enough that they went to the doctor looked at the problem, said, here's the treatment you need, here's a prescription. They left, held that prescription, and thought it's the prescription or groceries, the prescription or paying the rent on time. That is fundamentally wrong, and that includes people with health insurance. So here's the thing. I think of this as something we've got to get the most help to the most people as quickly as we can. Let's start with what a president can do all by herself. What will I do on the first day in office? I'll use the legal authorities that are already there. I will defend the Affordable Care Act. And I will use legal authority to reduce the price of commonly used prescription drugs like insulin, EpiPens, HIV/AIDS drugs, drugs for mental health treatment. We can save families hundreds of millions of dollars. It just takes the courage to step up and do it. So that's part one. Part two, I have shown how we could pay for health care for everyone in America without raising taxes on middle-class families by one thin dime. How do we do it? Increase taxes on the top 1% of earners. They can afford it. Two, go after these companies. Increase taxes on these giant corporations like Amazon and Halliburton, report billions of dollars in profits, pay nothing in taxes. And one more, my personal favorite, and that is hire some more IRS agents and crack down on the tax cheats at the top. A lot of money. That means we will have enough money that we can, and we can do this, by the way, through budget reconciliation, which means 50 votes. We can then offer completely cost-free health care for everybody under 18, for every family with an income under $50,000. We can offer it at a small cost to everyone else. Nobody has to take it if they don't want, but we can let tens of millions of Americans experience health care that's just between them and their doctor or their mental health professional or their nurse practitioner or their physical therapist. Tens of millions of people try it. We've got it fully paid for, and then we vote, and I'm going to argue for Medicare for all because I think that's what's going to work for most people. Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Hi, I'm Andy Gilbert.
What's your name?
Andy.
Hi, Andy. Did I hear it's your birthday? Happy birthday, Andy.
I was wondering...
Would you like to win a presidential race in New Hampshire for your birthday? Maybe we could all make that happen for Andy. What do you think? Okay, Andy, what do you got?
I was wondering, what are you going to do about accessible places for like wheelchair accessibility, and what are you going to do about menus for people who have loss of sight?
So it's a great question, and I'm glad you're focused on this, Andy. You know, this is part of what my disability plan is all about is that people with many different kinds of disabilities have come together and talked about where are the places we need to make changes. So for example, in housing regulations, so more housing is accessible to people who use wheelchairs, so that people are able, who have lost their sight, people are able to have more things available to them by Braille. We got a lot of things that we can do together, but here's the part that's most important to me, and that is the people who are most affected are the ones who lead us in the direction of showing where the problems are, and they are a central part of the fight in getting it done. So you good with that, Andy? Good, let's get this done. Good, I like it. I like it.
Senator, this is the last question.
Last question.
So, what can you do to help the environment, and what can we?
What's your name?
Declan.
Declan? Good to see you, that's right.
Yeah. What can you do, and what can we do to help the environment?
Okay, it's a great question, Declan. So let's start. Climate change threatens every living thing on this planet. What scares me the most is every time the scientists go back and get new data and they pump it into their models, the problem is worse than we thought and we have less time than we thought. So the urgency of the moment cannot be overstated. This is not a time to say your climate plan versus my climate plan. We need all the climate plans. And we got to start moving them forward, and we got to start moving them forward fast. So let me tell you where I start this, how I understand this from the beginning. And I'm going to say something that's very controversial down in Washington, at least it is in the United States Congress. But I feel safe here to say this when we're talking about climate. I believe in science. So I believe in science for both understanding the problem and also for innovating our way out of it, for figuring out the solutions. So here's a big part of my climate plan, and that is that we go tenfold on our investment in scientific research, in development, in every part of the sciences, from basic research to applied sciences. Do what we do best, innovate. Now, this creates a real opportunity. Taxpayers put in the money to support this research. The best estimate is there's an upcoming $27 trillion worldwide market for green energy, cleaning the air and the water, getting carbon out of it, desalinization. So here's my plan. Let's invest in the science, let's invest in the innovation, and then say, you can build from that whatever you want to build, so long as you build it right here in the United States of America. We want the jobs here. That will be more than 1 million new manufacturing jobs, good union manufacturing jobs here in America. Second part of climate we always have to talk about is understanding the full scope of the problem. And man-made problem in many, many ways. Right now, we've got a problem that comes from decades of having dumped environmental waste, pollution, locating polluting factories near communities of color. I am making a real commitment, a $1 trillion commitment to environmental justice, to cleaning up the mess that we have collectively made for decades now. Another part, I'm strong on the Green New Deal, but it's not enough. I've also got a Blue New Deal. We got to take care of our oceans. One more. I know there's so much to this. I will do what a president can do all by herself on the first day. First day. No new drilling or mining on any federal lands and no offshore drilling. Yep. One more, Washington needs to be a good federal partner with our farmers And that means making it economically feasible for our farmers to be on the front lines in the climate solution, not part of the climate problem. They can do this. There is so much we can do, and one more, regulations. No, just one more. Jay Inslee talks about this, and he's so right about it. We've got to be willing to pick up our regulatory tools. I will do, by 2028, no new buildings or homes, 0 carbon footprint. All homes, 0 carbon footprint. 2030, all cars and light-duty trucks, 0 carbon footprint. New ones online. By 2035, all new electric production, 0 carbon footprint. That's 70% of our carbon footprint is in those 3 industries. We pick up our regulatory tools, we can start moving in the right direction. I feel the urgency of this moment. I think we need the right targets, but we need to push, and we need to push hard from the very first day. So I'm in this one, Declan, all the way. Thank you for the question. So what great questions we had today. I want to wrap this up. Bailey's getting ready, I can tell, for his selfie line. I want to wrap this up by telling everybody a story about a toaster. Okay, you did not see that coming, right? And here's the story. Back when I was a young mom, toasters could catch houses on fire. And the way that worked is, you know those little toaster ovens with the slide-out trays? They didn't have automatic shut-off switches. So you could put 4 pieces of bread in one, flick on the switch, hear the baby cry, run down to the other end of the house, be gone a little longer than you thought you were, and when you came back, the flames are leaping off the toast by about 6 to 8 inches. They then catch the curtains on fire and then the kitchen cabinets on fire. Ask me how I know. I will only confess to the fact that my daddy got so upset about this that one year for Christmas, he bought me a fire extinguisher. Along came a federal agency, Consumer Product Safety Commission. They said, enough. No more selling toasters that can burn down people's houses. So the manufacturers put safety switches on them, and that was it. No more toaster fires burning down people's houses. By the early 2000s in America, home mortgages had gotten so complex and so dangerous, they had a 1 in 5 chance of costing a family their home through foreclosure. Only this time, the federal agency was not on the side of the people. It was on the side of the big banks. In fact, deep in the pocket of the big banks. And they told those banks, just keep selling those mortgages, because they were raking in the profits from it. And they did that right up until they collapsed the economy in 2008. So after that, I had an idea for an agency that was like the toaster agency, only this one would be an agency that says, you don't get to boost your profits cheating people on credit cards and mortgages and payday loans and student loans. And I'm not in elected office, never thought I'd be in elected office. So I go down to Washington and I just knock on doors, basically. Democrat, Republican, I don't care. I pitch my idea to anybody who'll listen to me. Let's, in the wake of this crisis, let's make sure it never happens again. Let's do this agency. So people, I realized, start saying the same 2 things to me. The first is, that's a good idea. You could actually make a real difference. That's a structural change. And the second is, don't even try. You'll be up against the big banks, you'll be up against Wall Street, you'll be up against all the Republicans, and you'll be up against half the Democrats. You can never get it done. I get it. Big structural change is hard, but it was the right thing to do. We got in that fight, we took on big money, and in 2010, President Obama signed that agency into law. We won. We won, and it mattered. Today, that little agency has forced the banks to return more than $12 billion directly to people they cheated. We can make government work for the people. But now, we've had 3 years of Donald Trump. And people are afraid. There are a lot of people who are afraid. They're afraid for their families and for their neighbors. They are afraid for children locked in cages down at our borders. They are afraid for children in lockdowns in our public schools. They are afraid for women, for people of color, afraid for LGBTQ people, for trans people, all of whose rights are up for grabs in this Supreme Court. They are afraid for our nation, and they are afraid for our planet. And the danger is real. Our democracy hangs in the balance. And it is up to you, Massachusetts, to decide what to do. Totally blew it on that one. And to the people of New Hampshire. Thank you. It is a hard time. But it is up to you with this election coming up in 2 days, this primary, first in the nation primary, to decide what we're going to do. Are we going to cower? Are we going to be timid? Or are we going to fight back? Me, I'm fighting back. I'm with you. Fight back. Fight back. Fighting back is an act of patriotism. We fought back against a king to form this country. We fought back against the scourge of slavery to save this union. We fought back against a Great Depression to rebuild this economy. We fought back against fascism to protect our democracy. America does big things. We are at our best when we see a big problem and we fight for a big solution. This is no time for small ideas. This is no time to look backwards. This is no time to nibble around the edges of big problems. This is a time to stand up, to be bold, to fight for big structural change. So understand, I'm not running a campaign that has been shaped by a bunch of consultants. I am not running a campaign with proposals that have been carefully designed not to offend big donors. I passed that stop sign a long time ago. I'm running a campaign based on a lifetime of fighting for working families. I am running a campaign from the heart because I believe in you. I believe in you, and I believe in the America we can build together. I believe that we can build an America where every single person has value, an America where every single child is worth investing in, an America where in a democracy it is the people, not the money, that matter the most. I believe in that America. And here's the thing, if you can imagine that America, if you can just imagine that America, and if you think that America is worth fighting for, then I'm asking you, get in this fight with me. Vote for me on Tuesday. Go to ElizabethWarren.com. Pitch in $5, volunteer to make calls, door knock, but get in the fight. Because this moment in history will not come our way again. This is our moment in history, our moment to choose courage over fear, our moment to choose hope, our moment to dream big, fight hard, and win.